On the air with me is Joe Max Higgins, CEO, Golden Triangle Development Link, one of the biggest and busiest guys around. Joe Max, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, Paul. How are you?
You staying busy?
We are phenomenally busy.
You know, I've talked to several people, Ryan, one of them, and John Roundsville at most of these folks, and I'm enthused about this, but they say the phone has been ringing probably more than they've seen in a long time. What do you feel like out there?
Well, I can tell you, we had 4 years of just nothingness. I mean, we still chalked up good numbers, but I mean, it was put in perspective. We were averaging $500 million a year in capital investment, about 500 jobs, and we saw those numbers go down 40% a year for 4 straight years. Now we're back on par. We've got projects in the pipeline, projects that have announced, and projects that we are either, we got 5 projects that we're in the finals for, 3 that were the top selections, expect announcements in the next 2 to 3 months. And we're already sitting on about $500 million, $600 million in capital investments so far this year. So it's been a very good year for us.
Why do you think that was? Because during the Trump administration for the past 4 years, I mean, you couldn't have anybody who was trying to put more and more, deregulations and also more and more favorable legislation to expand, to move back to this country. Was it something as far as the administration was concerned, something with corporate tax rates or something? And why now?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think the Trump administration was, you could argue, would have been better for job creation, but we weren't seeing it at the state level. That's where we were seeing our problems, not the leads, prospects coming in just very sparingly. We responded to 14 RFPs of top quality projects since January of this year. We didn't see that. I'd venture to say we didn't see that probably top quality ones in a 4-year period. So we're already seeing. I think John and his team are out shaking the trees. They're calling the site consultants saying, "Hey, I think you've forgotten about Mississippi. Let's put this back on your radar screen. Let us compete." And the consultants that we're working with are some of the best in the country. So we're back now on the radar screen for some of the top site consultants in the country, and that is good.
I mean, what it sounds like is it didn't have that much to do with the Trump administration, more so on things that we were doing to try to coordinate things. Has the MFlex been part of that?
Well, MFlex, let me tell you about MFlex. We started working on MFlex. A group of economic developers started working on that about 5 years ago. Nobody really realizes that, but we had a dinner down in Jackson. We had representatives from the coast. We had representatives from Natchez, from the Delta Council, from Jackson, Tupelo, us up in DeSoto County, and we said we've got to do something. So we used our own money and worked and ran models and talked to site consultants about what we thought would be good, and prepared it, and luckily we got it introduced this last year. The consultants that we've shown MFlex tell us it's a deal changer for Mississippi. It's transparent. We can tell taxpayers where their dollars are going, who's using them, how they're getting utilized. But also, companies don't have to do the funny money deal about issuing bonds and doing things that they have to do to get the state incentive right now. So we think hopefully we've got some commitments that it's going to be reintroduced next year. Hopefully it will pass, and I think it will be more competitive, but I think more importantly, it's so simple, even the third grader can understand it.
So what you're saying is you have some things to kind of adjust or tinker with MFlex to make it better?
Oh, yeah. And look, Paul, if we're doing our jobs, every year we should be looking at things, deals that we're losing or things that could make us more competitive, and it should be every year tweaking something just to make us a little bit better.
For a lot of people who don't know, I don't even know what it stands for as far as MFlex, Mississippi Flexible. What does it stand for?
When we came up with the name, we again that group of people called it Mississippi Flexible Tax Credit.
Okay.
And it replaced a whole lot of different ones, and I use the term that it's kind of like Mississippi money. When a company comes in, you stack a stack of play money, monopoly money, whatever you want to call it, in front of them, so you can use this on any obligation you have to the state. It self-corrects. If they overpromise and underdeliver, we take money back. If they underpromise and overdeliver, they get some more money. They get to use it until it's gone. It's a good deal, and what it does is it rewards companies that come here and stay here for the long haul.
It simplifies things, too. They know exactly what they need, and they don't want to overbuy or overpromise or anything else, and then everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, theoretically, a project manager could sit down with you and ask you 5, 6 key questions, sit there with their laptop, punch, enter buttons, and print you out an old-fashioned tape, like an ad machine tape, said, Paul, this is what your Inflex Award would be.
I got you. From a C Spire text line from a listener over your way, asked Joe about the proposed solar panel project and why solar project is the scale of those in the Mojave Desert. Why is that proposed to go on the agriculture community in Mississippi? I think he said something like 2,000 acres for a solar panel plant. Where is that, and what's the status of that? That project?
We actually have more than one. We've had 3 solar farms that have announced that are in development right now for delivery in October 22 for one of them, 2 of them for October 23. They represent about $550 million worth of capital investment. 2 are in Lowndes County. 1 is in Clay County right now. We've got 2 more, one working in Oktibbeha and another one working in Clay and another one working in Lowndes. So we're seeing a host of these solar projects, companies that want to use green power, and that's the Amazons of the world, the Google of the world, and even some of the manufacturers that we're working are wanting to use green power. And so we've identified sites that we don't think we will use in many futures for industrial development, and have worked with solar companies to develop those. They generate a lot of money for the communities, even with tax incentives for the first 10 years. Lowndes County is looking at about $1.3 or $4 million to the county and the schools, and Clay County is looking at a similar number. And in 10 years, when those go off, those numbers go around $3 million a year for the schools.
I got you. Yeah. Joe, is that ag land being converted to solar panels, or is it industrial land?
No, it's not. It's not industrial land. We would not do that because we don't have fields out on the edge of town that we want to be a plant site. We have thousands of acres that have water, sewer, road, and rail that we have developed for industrial. Some of them are adjacent to. A smaller portion is row crop farming that is being converted. But the majority of the land that we're working right now is gently rolling pasture land that's grazed cattle or been used for hay baling.
Are they selling the land or leasing the land?
Well, when the landowners get the choice, both the solar companies offer you a choice, and it's kind of like the lottery. You can take the annuity or you can take the one-time payoff. The vast majority of the people that we're working with take the one-time payoff. And the companies are optioning the property for 5 years and paying a pretty good number per acre for the 5-year option. The owners get to keep the money for the first 2 years, and year 3, 4, and 5, they get to keep it, but it gets applied to purchase price.
I got you. I want to ask you when we come back, basically where that is going. Are they putting the energy on open market, or is it targeted when we come back with Joe Max Higgins and some other things going on in the Golden Triangle from CEO Golden Triangle Development? It's Joe Max Higgins. We'll do that. Get back, and again, we are with Joe Max Higgins, and I just want to follow up that conversation as far as the solar panels. Is that energy in the open market, Joe, or is it targeted to one big industry?
Well, we're served by TVA. Our 36 counties in North Mississippi are served by TVA. They don't contract with this power on spec. So once they announce and do a project, that power has a signed contract for delivery. So the first 150 megawatt or 200 megawatt facility that came to Lowndes County, 60 megawatts of that plus or minus went to City of Knoxville. 100 megawatts of that went to General Motors in Saturn, with a Saturn plant in Spring Hill, Tennessee. About 30 megawatts went to the city of Starkville. The next 150, 75 went to 2 Facebook facilities, one in Tennessee and one in Alabama. The new one that's announced in Clay County, they have not announced who those customers are. We expect to know that fairly soon. We're encouraging, and the prospects that we're selling that want green power, we're saying, hey, we got it right next door to you. So we're encouraging them to pursue that, and two or three of the companies have that down as one of their top priorities, that they want renewable power available to them as an option.
Is this just the beginning? Is there more opportunity for that?
Well, I mean, there's probably more opportunity for the state, but quite frankly, I think we see the kind of good. We got in early, got a large number of them. I think one or two more, and we probably will push away from the table and say, hey, we're good. We got enough here, got enough tax to generate. The good part about these is they generate a lot of money for taxes for the governments, and we're not putting any money in them. State's got no incentive money in them. We've got no incentive money in them. A lot of private sector dollars, and it's driven by the location and the facilities that we have. The Golden Triangle is probably the most redundant, reliable, power-served area in all of TVA, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Maybe Marshall County, but probably us.
If there's any negative to that, it's just it doesn't take much to run them, so you don't have that many employees.
No, you got about 150 people to build them and probably less than a handful to maintain them.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, in better utilizing one of the best resources we have in this state of Mississippi is our outdoor amenities. What were your thoughts on that wildlife conservation bill that died?
Well, I think it was bad. I'm an Arkansas native, and my wife's family owns several thousand acres up there, and I spend about 25 days a year up there duck hunting, and Arkansas has utilized that program to the nth degree, and it's kind of sad that we can't figure it out here in Mississippi. Hopefully we will. The outdoor end. Matter of fact, we've got a luncheon coming up in a couple of weeks. Senator Bart Williams from Starkville said, look, we're an outdoor state. We need to talk about outdoor activities and recruiting outdoor companies. We've got Gary's Pawn and Gun, one of the top 5 Smith and Ruger dealers in the country every year. We've got Mossy Oak, Toxie Hayes and his team. But we got other manufacturers that make fishing boats and deer stands and stuff like that. So we're going to get all those people together, and we're going to talk about how we can positively exploit Mississippi's advantage in the outdoor industry, even to the tune of recruiting gun manufacturer, magazine manufacturer, other hunting components, bring more and more of that here. And because we just know it's a big part of our life, and the fact that we couldn't get something like that right that would leverage so many dollars to our state through the federal is you kind of wonder about it.
Well, in our conversation just a few moments ago, as far as the solar panels, it was well timed because we hear also this morning in some breaking news that the President, Joe Biden, has suspended some of the drilling and oil coming out of Alaska. Gas prices have hit a 7-year high. And again, upon all of that, this morning, how it's addressed is with taking some of that off the table as far as Alaska is concerned, and that's just it's crazy what's going on. But I want to get one more question on the wildlife deal. Is the Arkansas plan and the Mississippi plan basically the same?
Paul, all I know is that they put money in it, state money, and they leverage 2-to-1, 3-to-1, stuff like that, and I've got friends that are hunters that own property that are they're putting land that used to be flooded hardwoods back into flooded hardwoods that's been farmed, and some years can't farm it because it's always so wet. And I've got a friend that's made it very, very well for himself. And 2 years ago, he rode me around this place. He started talking about how he was doing this. I said, "This is cool." So I haven't looked at it enough to know whether they're apples and apples.
Well, I think one of the things that we talked about here, and we had numerous interviews on that one. Hopefully, there'll be some give and take in the House and the Senate, and figure out how they can shake hands and come to some type of agreement, because we have no better assets. And number one, in my mind, was just to get our parks. The amenities there back in shape, because that is a tremendous, tremendous amenity we have in the state of Mississippi, and to let them go as we have over the years is just a shame. So
yeah, and look, when you get whatever it is, 6 or 7 nonprofits that are charged with doing, you might argue, God's work, and they all come together and say, "Hey, this is a good deal." if it was one group or two groups or some special interest groups, but I mean, the groups that are working together on that, I think would have, high 90s approval rating if you ask anybody in the state.
Joe Max Higgins, who is the CEO of Golden Triangle Development. Look, Joe, we haven't seen you since before the communiversity was going to open. We thought we may be back over there. We just hadn't made it yet. But how's that working out?
It's working out very well. We've got a new director of that, Courtney Taylor, who's a PhD and a rock star. She lives every day like she's on fire, and I now serve on the EMCC board of trustees, so I get to look at the inside stuff too, and I still think that's going to be the biggest investment. And we bought thousands of acres, watered, sewered, roaded it, all that stuff. I think that's going to be the biggest legacy investment that we've made in the Golden Triangle and for decades to come.
We had Ryan Miller on not too long ago, and Ryan, as far as the workforce development, that's another thing we've done as far as MFLEX is concerned, and finally put this workforce development together. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, workforce. I just got back from a speaking engagement at Shreveport, Bossier, and Monroe, Louisiana last week, and I started my speech out by basically telling them that workforce was their Achilles heel, and that's two metro areas that I'm speaking to, not smaller rural areas, and it's everybody's Achilles heel. If we don't figure it out, if we don't get these folks skilled up, we're not going to be able to succeed. So it's not a matter of if we need to do this or should we do this. We need to do it, and we need to do it post haste.
But and you've never been shy about saying things like this. But what do we need? I mean, what are we lacking? What do we need in the next legislative session in 2021? What do you want to see happen?
Well, number one, I'd like to see MFLEX passed. I think the state really should take a long look at some of the discretionary incentives and how we fund them. We're still a state that rewards job creation and not capital investment. And if you'll take a step back and think about it, the higher the CapEx, the more skill level the people need, the higher rate of pay they make, the less likely the company can pick up and move. I wish we would start a legitimate conversation about counting CapEx instead of jobs as the main driver. For instance, if we went down to Jackson and said we got 1,000 jobs that pay $10 an hour, they'd count the jobs and run a formula. If we came in and said we're creating 6 jobs or 20 jobs that pay $80,000 a year, the discretionary incentive offer would be just damn near nothing. So I think we need to really have a look at that.
But no.
So many politicians are geared up to, I brought X jobs to the town, I brought X jobs to the county. You need to be looking at overall community wealth. But
what MFLEX would take care of that, wouldn't it?
MFLEX deals with statutory incentives. There's still this is another thing that I don't think people understood. It does not replace the discretionary incentives that the state offers. These are the statutory incentives that the state offers. There's still going to be discretionary incentives that are awarded from the state to the company.
I got you.
MFLEX is not a do-all, end-all. It's the statutory incentive part. You still got the discretionary.
They need to be corrected in the 2021 session. I agree.
I would think that would be a good thing.
Well, let's get back on board, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. And if you ever happen to be in the capital city, please let me know, and we'll get you on the air here in the studio.
Okay, buddy.
You got it.